Welcome to the program on this beautiful Wednesday. I think it's the 18th of March, pardon me, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program on today. We're about to get this program started. There is a lot of information to talk about, a lot to cover, a lot of stories that are making headlines, not just nationally, internationally, but locally as well. And I'm going to cover as much of it as I possibly can. Today, I'm not pressed for time, so I can take my time and read through these articles. Now, I won't read all the articles in their entirety, but I will read them. So I want to get started by talking about an article written for Bloomberg today. And the headline reads, U.S. aims to curb soaring oil prices as Iran vows for more revenge. So this is going to be an ongoing, protracted scene here. This article was written by Josh Wingrove and Jennifer A. Dohe. The U.S. took fresh steps to curb the turmoil in energy markets as Iran vowed to escalate its attacks on oil and gas infrastructure in the Middle East, with the conflict stretching toward 3 weeks. President Donald Trump temporarily waived a century-old shipping mandate to lower the cost of transporting energy goods around the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and other key Trump administration officials also plan to huddle with oil executives Thursday, according to two people familiar with the matter. Still, Trump expressed renewed irritation with countries who have rejected pleas to help secure the Strait of Hormuz, a critical energy waterway which remains all but impassable. U.S. allies need to get a grip, step up, and help open the Strait of Hormuz, he said in a social media post Wednesday. The opposition from the nation's allies comes from the fact that they said they weren't notified and they weren't briefed and they weren't included with this war with Iran. As military operations show little signs of abating, Brent crude oil prices neared $110 a barrel. Qatar's Ras Laffan industrial city, the complex that houses the world's largest liquefied natural gas export plant, suffered extensive damage after an Iranian tank, state-owned Qatar Energy said, without providing more details. Hours later, Tehran warned of Gulf countries that a number of energy assets are now legitimate targets after Israel attacked a key gas field in Iran. Facilities in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates are all on the list of sites at risk of Iranian air strikes, the semi-official Tasnim news agency reported on Wednesday. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian lashed out in a social media post saying attacks on the country's energy infrastructure would yield nothing for the U.S., Israel, and their supporters. This will complicate the situation and could have uncontrollable consequences, the scope of which could engulf the entire world. Israel carried out this strike on South Pars, a senior official from the country said, asking not to be named, discussing sensitive matters. The U.S. was aware of the operation but didn't participate, a person familiar said. Iraq reported a loss of power generation after Iran halted gas supplies as a result, the latest example of how other Middle East countries are becoming embroiled in the 19-day conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, protracted wars in the Middle East have gone on for centuries. It is our nation that does not like to engage in what protraction is when it comes to war. They like to get in and out, proclaim victory, and move on to the next battle or whatever conquest is going to be. So the oil prices rose in volatile trading on Wednesday, with Brent crude oil almost touching $110 during the session. U.S. crude oil rose $100 a barrel before easing to end the day around 96 a barrel. Supplies from U.S. emergency reserves are poised to hit the market soon, helping keep U.S. oil prices relatively tame compared to international benchmark Brent. Still, both oil contracts have skyrocketed by more than 40% since the U.S. and Israel began their war on February 28. So far, the U.S. administration's measures have done little to curb retail gasoline and diesel prices from surging to multi-year highs. So countries continue to vie for access and control in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. said it dropped 5,000 pound bunker buster munitions on Iranian missile sites near the waterway late on Tuesday. Russia said it plans to provide naval convoys to protect merchant ships. We haven't heard anything about Russia. And isn't it unusual that we haven't heard anything from Kim Jong-un and North Korea? Well, you can believe they're someplace, somewhere, doing something, and I'll talk about it. I read some articles, and I'm going to do that in a separate video. So Iran, meanwhile, has been moving its own oil through the strait at close to pre-war levels. Crude loadings at Kahar Island also appeared to continue undisturbed despite U.S. airstrikes on the export hub. The feds are holding interest rates steady as the economy faces a deep uncertainty. The economy is being affected. So according to National Public Radio, or NPR, the headline reads, the Federal Reserve held its benchmark interest rate steady as it faces inflationary pressure from the war with Iran and a weakening labor market. The Federal Reserve's balancing act is getting harder. The central bank held its benchmark interest rate steady on Wednesday as policymakers face growing signs of a softening job market, even as the war in Iran puts more upward pressure on prices. That's leaving policymakers caught between compelling goals of encouraging hiring while also discouraging inflation. Quote, uncertainty about the economic outlook remains elevated, federal policymakers said in a statement. The implications of development in the Middle East for the U.S. economy are uncertain. But a vote of 11-1, members of the Fed's rate-setting committee opted to leave the federal funds rate between 3.5% and 3.75%. The dissenting member, former White House economist Stephen Moran, would have preferred to cut the benchmark by a 0.25 percentage point. Committee members also signaled that on average, they expected to cut rates just once this year, the same as they were forecasting in December. Here's the problem. And this is what people don't want to realize. Some people want to have blinders on their minds. There is an inflation in the nation. Whether people want to acknowledge it or not, whether they want to say it or not, the economy is being dismantled bit by bit. Everywhere you go, the food prices are soaring, gas prices are soaring, Medicare and Medicaid prices are soaring, healthcare is out of control. A lot of individuals, especially seniors, are finding it hard to be able to pay their bills. They don't know if they're going to pay their rent or their gas or their insurance. They just don't know. What about car insurance? How high has it become? Just ask the individuals who have basically, they don't have full coverage. They have just enough coverage in case an accident occurs. And that is true. People are only spending money on necessary items. They're looking for sales everywhere. Digital coupons have become very popular because people are finding it hard, consumers are finding it hard to meet. Shalom, right back to you. It's wonderful to hear from you again as well. People are finding it hard to survive. And this is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. Whether people acknowledge it or not, the war in Iran has an impact on what's happening in America. As we head into the midterm elections, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The midterm elections is going to be a referendum of everything that has been going on within the last year and a half. People are not going to forget, and especially with soldiers being wounded, troops on the ground. You don't put troops on the ground unless you are planning an all-out assault on the ground. Individuals who have served in the military know what's coming. It's the average everyday person who's not really paying attention to what's going on. According to The Hill, this is very important. This article was written by Sophia Brahms. The White House offers body camera expansion, immigration enforcement limitations, and DHS reopening bid. As you know, it has been the position of the GOP that they weren't going to make any concessions whatsoever when it comes to ICE. They wanted the Democrats just to go along to get along. And now all of a sudden they're considering. So this article says the White House this week unveiled a fresh counteroffer in a bid to reopen the DHS, or the Department of Homeland Security, which remains shut down as airport security lines grow and tensions escalate in the Middle East. In a letter outlining the status of negotiations with Democratic leadership on Capitol Hill, the White House agreed to implement some reforms to its tactics when carrying out President Trump's deportation agenda, including expanding the use of body-worn cameras and limiting ICE operations around sensitive locations such as schools and hospitals. The administration also said it would increase oversight of DHS detention facilities, enforce, quote, the use of visible officer identification, end quote, during operations, and require officers to identify themselves and their agency when requested. Really? Well, how about this? Didn't they make similar concessions when it came to ending the shutdown before? It was stated that there was not going to be any talk regarding health care until the shutdown ended. And when the shutdown ended, the first thing they said, we're not even going to have a vote on health care. If anything, we're going to tighten the reins pertaining to health care. Even now, as I'm reading this article, there's all kinds of stuff happening with ICE around America. People don't want to know it because they don't want to know about the carnage. They don't want to know about the violations. They don't want to know about the secrecy. They just would rather go through life thinking that everything is normal, and everything is not normal. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. How many seniors are being abused in these nursing care facilities and nobody cares? Staff can't report it because they'll get fired. Administration covers it up because they want that governmental funding. The seniors are threatened and intimidated, and they're scared to death to talk to people when they come in. This is a stipulated fact. Even in the most exclusive of nursing homes, there are abuses that are taking place consistently. Seniors are being terrified. Seniors just don't want to open their mouths for fear of retaliation. Guess what? Open your mouths. Talk. Quote, uncomfortable truth. People prefer comfort and complacency, end quote. And that's a stipulated fact. They want their lattes, they want their dog parks, they want to be able to go on their vacations. They don't want to hear about the sorrows and woes because it interferes with their plans. It interferes with their vacations. We don't want to hear anything unless it's something that we want to talk about. Democrats, be careful. You're playing a dangerous game here. You're playing a dangerous game. Be careful. Undercover officers would be exempted from the body cameras and identification requirements, according to the letter. Boards are Tom Holman and James Brad, the director of DHS's Office of Legislative Affairs, wrote that the changes would be layered on top of the updates that were negotiated and passed in the House earlier this month. Still, the administration is holding firm in opposing Democrats' other demands, which include a comprehensive ban on masks and face coverings, and the need to obtain a judicial warrant before entering private property. Well, that's one of the major problems right there. Egregious violations are taking place against American U.S. citizens. Because if this was going on under the Obama or Biden administration, MAGA would be having a hissy fit if Biden had unleashed DHS in just Republican states. And from what I've seen, ICE is only operating in democratically led states. I've seen them all throughout my states where I live. I've had 2 personal encounters with ICE that I've never talked about. 2 personal encounters with ICE that I have yet to talk about. So I know it is real. I know what's going on because I see it firsthand in my neighborhood. Let me holler at you for a minute, Republicans. You all think this is fun and games, don't you? You think it's a joke. Well, wait until they unleash DHS in your neck of the woods, because it's coming. And the reason why it's going to happen, because the administration does not want the general the populace, as we go into the midterm elections, to think that they're being impartial, that partiality is taking place, because they want to retain power in Congress and in the Senate. And in order to do that, they're going to have to come into Republican-led territory as well. You don't think so? All right. Keep thinking it's a game. This is not a game. These are people's lives here. How would you like it if you were detained in a facility, or your grandchild or your children were unaccounted for, and you couldn't find them for months at a time? How would you like it if you were driving down the street and an unmarked black vehicle rolls up on you and violates your constitutional rights? You wouldn't like it, would you? No, you would not. Should America have a strong immigration policy? Without a doubt, yes. We have to have safe borders, and borders have to be secured. People have to come into the country legally, ethically, and constitutionally, the right way, without a doubt. That shouldn't be a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. It should be an American issue. You see how easy it is to be able to sit down at the table of brotherhood and talk intelligently? I don't understand why all these so-called college-educated, intelligent politicians can't get together and just sit down and have civil, quote-unquote, discourse among themselves. Where you can agree, you agree on. Where you can't, it's an impasse. They do it in corporate America all the time. So what is the problem? The problem is one party wants to rule with total dictatorial authority and demand that the minority party just say, okay, we'll go along to get along. Wait until the midterm elections come, and the summer is going to pass very quickly. Now let's get back to this article. The concessions came a day after the White House said it was reviewing a counteroffer sent by Democrats late Monday evening as negotiations continued to show few signs of progress. Republicans have sought to use the escalating conflict with Iran to pressure Democrats into reopening DHS by emphasizing the agency's role in counterterrorism efforts. Well, that's a dumb thing to do. How are you going to try to pressure the Democrats to reopen DHS because of a war that they never were invited to talk about to begin with? So now the Democrats have to bow down to Republicans You know, one of the major mistakes that the Democrats made during the presidential election, and that was this. Y'all took Trump for granted, and you paid the price for it. You did. You took him for granted because you didn't think he was going to win. And because you didn't think he was going to win, y'all threw Kamala Harris into the mix just before the DNC convention, knowing they were not going to put that black woman in the White House. You Democrats knew that. You sabotaged her campaign. It was deliberate and it was malicious. And then you blame her when the Democrats lost. And you all think that black folk want to support the Democrats in the 2028 election when you don't want to do anything for black people? Yeah, I'm dealing with the Democrats right now. You all gonna have to step up to the plate and step up to the table. And you're gonna have to give Black America a reason to support the Democratic ticket. Because thus far, there is no reason. Keep taking the black vote for granted on both sides. Keep taking it for granted. Keep thinking that we're not a major voting bloc. Keep thinking that our interests and our concerns don't mean anything. And then we'll show y'all. Since you take us for granted, we'll let you fall on your face. If the Democratic Party is going to be the party of freedom, justice, and equality, then talk about issues that pertain to that. All the other stuff shouldn't even be a part of it. Y'all get your platforms mixed up because you allow anything and anyone and everybody to threaten and intimidate y'all. The Republicans say, yo, we don't care. Certain issues we ain't going to talk about. Point blank. That's the bottom line. Don't bring it to us. We're not going to think about it. It's not going to be a part of the Republican platform. And they stick to their guns. They know how to get their messages across. And the Democrats, here y'all come. You want to be weak. Yeah, I said it. You want to be weak. You want to have a love fest. Politics ain't no love fest. Politics is war. I said politics is war. It's not the time to have a love fest. Your opponent is your enemy, and you are the enemy of the opponent. Stop being nice. Stop being conciliatory. Stop trying to sing kumbaya and hold hands. And that's not what politics is about. Politics is vicious. It's dirty. It's ugly. It's hideous. It is not a clean game. When it's all over, then you can shake hands and try to bring a more active civility once the campaign is done. But until then, you better gear up for the political chess game and the political tsunami that's coming for the midterm elections. You know what? I wish to God somebody would hire me to be their spokesperson. I wouldn't care if it was for the GOP or the Democrats, because y'all don't know how to talk to people. Republicans are too arrogant and too bigoted and too racist, and the Democrats are too weak and too pathetic and too scared. You got to have some moderation down the middle of the road, someplace, somewhere. Y'all talk at people. You don't talk to people. If it's not written on a teleprompter, you don't know how to speak without the words coming across the screen. How about speaking from the heart? How about just telling people what's on your mind for real? Wouldn't it be decent if a politician said, you know what, for once, I'm going to tell the truth whether I get elected or not. I will try to do as much as I possibly can, but if I'm stronghold and if I'm limited, I'll do the best I can to get the agenda passed. Stop lying to people and tell them, I'm going to do everything that I say. You're not going to do everything that you're saying, you know it. And when it comes to DHS, I know what I'm talking about. I'm still in line with this article. When it comes to DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, it must be strong. They cannot relent to the enemy. But at the same time, there has to be civility, even in administering quote unquote justice and looking for people who have egregiously violated the laws when it pertains to immigration. That's it. It's not a hard thing to figure out. All this hate and bitterness and all this rancor that's been going on just to prove that you're in power, it makes no sense. That's why a lot of individuals are fed up with politics from both sides. They're fed up. They're tired of the lies. They're tired of the disappointments. People, you know what people care about? They care about, can the economy be stabilized? Can we pay our bills? Do we have jobs? Can we go to work without fear of being caught up in billionaire political nonsense? Can we just have enough money to be able to make it? Can seniors live without fear? These are the things that are on people's minds. Can they just drive their car in peace without having to spend almost $10 per gallon for gas? For once, can they turn on the television and don't hear about war? People are exhausted with war. Every other year, every 2-3 years, there's always got to be a war, another war, another war, and another war, and another war. When does the time of peace and tranquility become a part of the conversation so that prosperity can flow for all? This is serious. When do we address the concerns that pertain to everyday people? When will Congress sit down and act like grown adults in the room and stop acting like a bunch of immature brats? When will senators speak with civility toward one another without demonizing one another and come to a consensus for the good of the nation? Get laws passed that are going to benefit everybody. And the shutdown is also straining Transportation Security Administration of TSA operations as officers are going unpaid, leading to more call-outs and hundreds quitting the force altogether. Can you blame them? How about this? Suppose the politicians stop getting paid while the government is shut down. Why are they still getting paid? And the essential workers who are doing the dirty work every day, they're not getting paid? Well, how about the politicians put their paychecks on hold until all this stuff is resolved once and for all? But they're not doing that. What about the mothers who depend on SNAP benefits? I'm talking about those who are legally, ethically doing what's right to get SNAP benefits. What about them who genuinely need them? That's for all people in America. You know, if I were a politician, I'll tell you how bold I am. I would go to the hardest places just to listen to what they have to say. Whether they like me, loathe me, or hate me, I would show up. I'd go down into the deep South just to listen. I wouldn't care if the KKK showed up, the Proud Boys, the White Boys, whatever kind of way they want to call themselves. I'd show up because I would like to listen to their grievances. Listen to their concerns. You got to listen to what people's fears are and find a way to be able to work with everybody. That's the problem in politics today. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to come out of their plush offices. Nobody wants to put boots, quote unquote, on the ground in their own communities. But when you're campaigning, you show up. When you're campaigning, you want to hug and you want to kiss all the babies and stuff. But what happens once the campaign is over? You mean to tell me you won't come back and find out if your promises are being kept? And if not, then what can we do to keep them? That's it. It's just that simple. That's why on this channel, I deal with topics and issues that most folk don't want to deal with now, because I don't have time to come before this camera and play games, y'all. I'm a law student. I'm in some serious stuff when it comes to studying. I'm not playing the game. I'm going to be serious criminal justice advocate for all people. We're going to move race out of the equation because I'm just going to deal with the issues that affect everyday people who are real serious victims. And if I become a judge, I don't know what the future holds, but if that's the will of God, then I got to rule judiciously with mercy and compassion, because everybody doesn't do something because there's an action that precipitates what takes place. And people who commit serious crimes, y'all can't get away with them. It's just a simple. You can't get away with them. People who commit serious crimes, violate people, destroy people, murder people, you can't get away with them and try to use some plausible excuse and justification for doing what you did. You got to pay for it, irregardless of who you are, what you are, be you rich, poor, black, white, it don't matter. Billionaire, non-billionaire, if you can't stand the heat, then get out of the kitchen, quote unquote. Now, just on Tuesday, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, the MAGA Republican from Louisiana, cast a proposal that was floated by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat from New York, as an attempt to, quote, defund the police, end quote. I'm so tired of hearing about defund the police. Why? You need law enforcement, you dummies. Who do you call as soon as something goes wrong? You call the police. So why do you want to defund them? Because if you defund them, I'm going to tell you where the defunding is going to start first, in your local communities and in your local neighborhoods, where the violence and the crime escalates continually around the clock. So I'm not an advocate for defunding the police. Heck no. Give them what they need. Seriously, I'm not playing. I'm not an advocate for defunding the police. I'm for good law, responsible, effective law enforcement. Yes, I am. Because you have to have it. And if there are any rogue cops or whatever you want to call themselves, you find them, you root them out, and you punish them to the fullest extent of the law. But you can't brandish and label the good men and women who put their lives on the line every single day, and they're working before and in the streets and behind the scenes in law enforcement. They don't get the credit that they deserve. And it's true. They're never recognized. They don't get credit. What about our firefighters who put their lives on the line every single day? When they leave home, they don't even know if they're going to make it back home to their families. When they rush into a burning building, it's not, they don't say, are you Democrat? Are you MAGA? Are you Republican? Are you socialist? Are you independent? They're there to save a life or lives. So no, do not defund the police. I know black folk will get upset with me. I don't care how dumb it is. Suppose they say defund education. How would you like that? You wouldn't like that, would you? No. So why defund the police? You can root out corruption and law enforcement. They do it every day. You've got good, decent men and women who are working in high-ranking responsibilities. Internal Affairs knows who the rotten cops are. They know. They know. And they know how to root out corruption. So when it comes to defund the police, don't do it. And Democrats, get your act together. You should be for funding the police. That's why y'all keep losing this argument. Why would you even have a platform? Why would you even introduce a proposal about defunding the police? What is wrong with y'all? Somebody has to just talk to you all like this because you don't get it. You don't listen. It is a losing argument. You're not going to win. Why don't the Democrats become pro-law and order? Then you take the thunder away from the Republicans. What did Trump say when he first ran for political office? He said, quote, I will be the candidate for law and order, end quote. And that's why the unions got behind him. That's why law enforcement got behind him. Because they had a winning argument. And when you have a winning argument, I'm getting ready to move on to the next article. When you have a winning argument, you're going to win every single time. Why do you think the Republicans keep talking about abortion? Because they know evangelical Christians are going to vote for them. It's just that simple. You don't need a PhD to win a political office. They're going to tell them what they want to hear. And many Christians have abortions. Yeah, I said it. So what? I know plenty of them who've had them. Many high-ranking evangelical leaders who have mistresses and stuff on the side. Oops, my bad. Make their girlfriends have abortions. And they're the pro-candidate for abortions. The pro-life issue within the Catholic Church is the only issue they want to talk about, because they don't want to talk about these priests that are pedophiles. They don't want to deal with that. So they harp on the pro-life issue all the time. Well, guess what? Let me tell you, proponents of pro-life, something. You shouldn't just care about the children or the child when they're in the womb. You have to care about them after they are born, irregardless of what color they are. Pro-life, yes. Pick a side. You better get your platform together, Democrats, because before you know it, 2028 will be here. All right, let's go to some local news coming out of Philadelphia. According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, the headline reads, Alice Stanford is banking on a healthcare message to break through crowded Philly primary for Congress. All right, let's find out what's going on with this. And this article was written by Anna Orso. Dr. Alice Stanford is accentuating her lack of political experience and running as the outsider candidate in a field of politically veterans vying to replace Democratic U.S. Rep. Dwight Evans in Congress. At times, Alice Stanford feels like she doesn't quite fit in. She's a pediatric surgeon, and she's also a Black woman. See, they're not going to say this, but I got to just tell the truth. Albeit very well known, who is running for political office for the first time trying to win a seat in Congress, then for decades has been held by a seasoned Philadelphia politician. All right, I'm going to tell you how to win. Are you listening to me, doctor? Do you want to be the next congressperson from Philadelphia? This is how you win the race. Listen to Tyrone Bowman from Tyrone Bowman Live. Go into the community and talk to people and don't talk at them. Let me say it again. Come out of your office, put on your Timbs, pull your hair back, walk the streets, start talking to people right now. Don't talk at them. Listen to them. Find out what their needs are. Find out what they want in a congressperson. Find out how they've been neglected and rejected. And even go to the areas where you wouldn't normally go. You do that and you're going to win. I said, do that and you will win the congressional seat. But if you don't do it, you're not going to win it. Education won't matter when people's needs are not being met. They don't care about articulation of speech. They don't care about how polished you are. They don't care about being an outsider. They want to know, can you do the job? Can you represent them? Will you speak for them come win, lose, or draw? Will you battle on the congressional issues on the floor for them? Will you get in the heat of the battle? Will you take up for them? Will you advocate for them? Will you speak for them? Listen, when I was growing up, this is what my mother used to tell me when I used to get in fights. She said, I don't care if you win, lose, or draw, but you better get in the fight. Don't let nobody punk you out and bully you. Come on, black folk, talk back to me. Talk to me, some of my folk from Philadelphia. You know that's what they told us. Parents told us, if you don't get out there and fight him, I'm going to fight you. That's how I grew up in Philly. So she's a pediatric surgeon. Great. At campaign events, when the top Democrats in the congressional race are chit-chatting among themselves, Sanford has found herself on the margins. Often she feels more comfortable talking medical procedures with Dave Oxman, the other physician in the race, than whatever the sitting state representatives have going on in Harrisburg. Talk more about stuff outside of medical terms. Everyday people are not adverse with these deep, intricate 20-syllable words. Just talk plainly to people. How? You got a medical problem? Let's find a way to get it solved. Can't get your Medicaid? Come by the office. Let's talk about it. Let's find a way to get this thing done. That's how you resonate and connect with people. Simple talk. Listen, do something other congressional candidates are not going to do. Have town hall meetings. And don't just have the meeting. Get off that stage. Sit down there with the people. And don't be sitting high up on a podium someplace and looking down on them. Sit on the floor with them. Listen to them. I worked for a politician. I know what I'm talking about. And he was elected several times. I'm not going to call his name. Now, you want to win the race? You got to know how to play it. Because people at the end of the day, they're tired of impressive resumes. They're tired of a person's pedigree. They're tired of them just going to selective radio stations or TV stations. Don't depend upon the press. Make your own press. Open your mouth. Hit the streets running. How bad do you want it? How much do you want to sit in that seat? Remember the late Reverend Dr. Bill H. Gray III, who was a pastor and a minister, but he was also an effective congressman. Go back into history, find out how they won, find out how they did it, and do it even better. Find out what the concerns of their children are. What do you need for your children? Find out what the concerns of their aging parents are, or auntie, or uncle, or figure auntie, or figure mother. Find out. So the trail may get lonelier. Oxman is planning to drop out Wednesday and endorse Sanford, making her the hands-down most prominent outsider in a race that is stacked with political veterans. Who gives a flip in the wind that you've got the so-called test and try politicians? It doesn't matter. You don't need the backing of the Democratic chair to win. Non-conventional candidates will win. In Sanford, study the political playbook of President Donald Trump. You want to win the election? Find out how he won. What are y'all scared? See, what gets me, Democrats don't want to give Trump any credit for nothing. You don't want to even acknowledge that the man was political savvy. He played the game and he played all of y'all and he won it twice. The man won twice. Those who were behind him, those who supported him, those who wrote his speeches, they played the game. You better start taking some pages out of their playbook. Quote, to quote the song from Kenny Rogers in The Gambler, if you're going to play the game, boy, learn to play it right. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. Close quote. And don't accept a victory speech and you haven't won an election. Win first. Then you don't even need to write the victory speech. Just let it come from the heart. That's it. Get dirty. So get in the game and win it. That's what I would do. I'm just going to be honest with you. If I was a politician in Philadelphia, boy, they would have hell to pay. I'm just telling you straight up. And I would tell them from the moment I would announce my candidacy, I am here to win. Point blank. There is no secondary plan. Winner take all. That's it. That's how you got to think. You got to think like a winner in order to be a winner. Why do you think there are many restaurants? Because everybody has something different on the menu. To amass support ahead of the crowded May 19 primary election, the likely deciding contest in one of the nation's bluest congressional districts, Stanford will have to chart a path that beats both the Democratic establishment and the progressive left, which have chosen other candidates in a wide open race. Stanford, who is 55, known for her lack of political experience. And listen to this. Listen, y'all, because I'm going to comment on this in a second. Known for her lack of political experience makes her stand out. And she's accentuating it on the campaign trail. She is highlighting her career as a physician. And she says she'll fix the healthcare system her opponents failed to address in their years as public officials. Her candidacy comes as an increasing number of medical professionals are running for offices across the country, as thousands of Pennsylvanians have dropped their healthcare coverage due to rising costs. All right. Let me tell you one thing she's got in her favor. She's smart. But being smart don't win elections. They keep talking about she has no political experience. Did Trump have any political experience before he became president? Name one office that he won. I'll wait. Come on, talk to me. Name one office that President Trump won prior to casting his lot into becoming the Republican nominee. They packaged him as an outsider. They packaged him as a businessman with business experience who could solve Americans' problems. Go back and look it up. That's how they ran him as a candidate. They packaged him as a pro-law and order candidate. They packaged him to the evangelicals as a pro-life, Jesus-loving candidate. And it worked. You don't need political experience in order to win an election. That is a fallacy. You don't need it. Stop buying into that foolishness. If you're going to win, win. Don't overpromise something. Just tell them you'll do the best that you can, because you're not going to fix the healthcare system, because you're setting yourself up for a big fall. You got to get in there and find out what's going on. And then you have to work with others from the opposing party in order to get the job done. If I were a politician, I'd tell the Republicans straight up, I'm coming to every goddamn caucus you have. I'm showing up to every meeting if I'm the only black face up in there, and you can't run me away. And you can call me whatever you want to call me, Jack. I'm walking through the door. If you're going to be at the table, I'm going to be at the table. Bottom line. And when we walk up out of here, we're going to walk up out of here with the solution to the problem. That's how you got to have it. How do you think the late Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm won election after election after election as a congresswoman, a pioneer, a trailblazer. Even when she cast her lot as a presidential candidate, being the first Black person to do so, she knew she couldn't win, but she said, I have a right to run constitutionally. That's why I'm doing it. Now, come on, doctor. You can do this. You can win. I'm trying my best to help you. You can win. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to vote for you. So I'm putting it out in the ether. I'm going to vote for you. And I'm trying to help you to win. I don't know you. You don't know me. I'm trying to help you to win. So she has kept pace with 3 sitting lawmakers who are also running for the seat, in part by lending her campaign $250,000 of her own money. That's a good thing to do. Now, how about this? You ready? All right. Let me give you some free advice. I hope you follow it. Here it is. Start holding some community events and start inviting needy families to the events. And when they come, don't let them leave empty-handed. Food and clothing, things that they need. Gift certificates. Supplies for the children for school. Money for uniforms. Do something that other candidates are not going to do. Don't just have fundraisers. Give something back to people. Is this making sense to y'all in the comment section? Or am I just rambling? Give something back to people when they come to your campaigns. Don't just take and take and take. Don't just give them some food. People are having it hard, y'all. Even if I didn't win, I would still bless the community. Just to let them know it was worth the ride, baby. And then I'll just gear up for the next campaign. Have you ever known a boxer to say, you know what, I'm just going to quit boxing because I didn't win the first time around? They learn from it and they come back stronger than ever. That's how you play the game. I'd show up with all kind of gift bags at my campaign events, by the thousands. Did you hear what I said? By the thousands. I have them all ready. And while they're out there, you can pass them out while I'm talking. And you don't have to wait until the vendor's over. Pass them out. We family. That's how I'll be talking. We family, y'all. The late Howard Washington, who was the first Black mayor of New York City and won re-election, God rest his soul. He passed away while in office. He was a hardworking man because he connected and resonated with the people out in New York City. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a student of the game, baby. I know what I'm talking about. I could easily talk to Republicans. It's not hard to do. They're just as human as I am. It's not hard to sit down and talk to Republicans. People don't want to talk to each other. Okay, well, I destroyed that myth. You call me out of my name, I'll call you out of yours. Now what? Now we even. Checkmate, baby. Now let's sit down like grown men and listen to each other. And let's try to take care of the people's business for real. So what do you think about that? So the group so far funded 5 weeks of television commercials, reminding voters. The Sanford founded the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. In the throes of the pandemic, she set up mobile testing sites in the minority Black communities and ran vaccination clinics to inoculate thousands of Philadelphians, a grassroots effort to fill gaps left by government-funded programs. And that's awesome. That's a major, major plus. And don't forget to spend money on Black media. Oftentimes during the campaign season, they don't spend money on Black media. They don't run ads on Black-owned radio stations. Why not? Why would you take all your money and give it to the white radio stations? Start running money, start running ads in your own community. It makes sense to me. I'm reading this article because I really think she has a chance of winning. So it's a compelling story that has been told many times across national media, on podcasts, and in Sanford's own memoir. What hasn't been told is why it means she should represent the 3rd Congressional District, which covers much of Philadelphia, over her opponents who have spent years in politics. And that's all I'm talking about. Give them a reason to put you in office. You got to talk to people. Don't use placid language. Don't talk about your book. Don't talk about your achievements. Talk to them. Why should we elect you? Give them a reason. One reason why Trump went over well with the white Christians, he said, because I will protect Christianity. And it worked. So don't just look for, I told y'all before on our programs, all Trump supporters, listen to me. I told you before, I'm very fair with people. I'm extremely fair. I will acknowledge good where I can find good. This is not a Trump bashing channel. I want you all to understand that. It's not what this channel is for. There are too many of them on YouTube now. I don't do that. It's not for me. Where I can find good, I'm going to talk about the good. Where we have common ground, we're going to address it. All right, I've been talking for 56 minutes and 56 seconds. I'm going to take a break shortly, y'all. So there is so much more to cover. I haven't even touched the surface rather. And this is just a few stories I've talked about. So I'm getting ready to take a break when I hit the 60-minute mark, because I don't like to talk beyond an hour. Let's see if I can get this last story in. According to APnews.com, the U.S. is demanding bonds up to $15,000 for visa applications from 12 more countries. This article was written by Matthew Lee. The State Department says it is adding 12 countries to an expanding list of nations whose citizens must post bonds of up to $15,000 to apply for U.S. visas. Effective April 2nd, passport holders from Cambodia. Listen, y'all. I'm already doing a series about hunger and homelessness in Africa. Now listen to this. Effective April 2nd, passport holders from Cambodia, Ethiopia, Georgia, Grenada, Lesotho, Mauritius, Mongolia, Mozambique, Nicaragua, Papua New Guinea, Seychelles, and Tanzania will be required to pay the bond, which is refunded if the visa application is denied or if granted, the person adheres to the terms of the visa. That's according to a notice posted to the State Department's website on Wednesday. After April 2nd, there will be 50 countries whose citizens are subject to the requirement, which was rolled out by the Trump administration last year as it cracked down on visa overstays and more broadly moved to curtail illegal migration. This is part of a tough immigration policy. Under the program, visa applicants from designated countries, many of which are in Africa, which have high overstay rates, have to post bonds of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000, depending on their circumstances and the discretion of the consular officer processing the application. You better listen up, my brother African brothers and sisters, before you think about coming across the border. You better have your business straight. Get it fixed. All this thing about you speak more than one language don't matter. All this business that you think you're better than the average black person in America doesn't matter. All this business that we're more hardworking than black people, that does not matter. Because our people have been working in the trenches from day one in this nation. You all didn't fight the battles. The African nations didn't help my ancestors when they were enslaved. They didn't help them to get free. Matter of fact, they were complicit in the transatlantic slave voyages. As the slave ship called, quote unquote, Jesus came and captured them by the millions and millions and millions. They tried to downplay and say, well, there weren't that many millions of people. There were over 100 million of my people who were sold into slavery around the freaking world. You know, sometimes I think America gets a bad rap when we talk about slavery, because you got to talk about the inclusivity of all the nations who participated in slavery. From Brazil to Argentina to Australia and in between. And don't forget about the Arabs who are still trying to enslave black people. Yes, they participated in the slave trade. And they don't get a pass. I said they don't get a pass. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to take a break because I'm getting tired. I'm going to take a break, refresh, and I'll be back later. Listen, thank you all for coming on. Blessings. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you all for coming on. I appreciate each and every one of you. Never surrender. Never quit.